My dear child, don't leave this message halfway. Listen until the very end, because what you're about to hear may help you see your questions and uncertainties from a completely new perspective. There is something your heart has been trying to tell you for a long time, but your mind keeps interrupting before you can truly hear it. You have sensed a distance that words could never explain. A silence that feels louder than any argument. A change in someone's energy that no one else seems to notice, except you. You have asked yourself questions in the middle of the night. Why do they seem distracted? Why do they smile at moments that have nothing to do with me? Why does it feel like a part of their world has become hidden? Those questions did not appear by accident. Sometimes your spirit notices shifts long before your eyes can understand them. But hear this carefully. Not every secret is a betrayal. Not every hidden conversation carries the meaning your fears try to create. There are moments when heaven allows uncertainty, not to punish you, but to prepare your heart to see beyond appearances. Because the truth has layers. And today, one of those layers is beginning to unfold. The person you love has indeed been speaking with someone privately. That much is real. Yet the story your imagination has been writing may not be the story that actually exists. Is it possible that what has been concealed was never meant to destroy you, but to reveal something much deeper? Before you answer that question, think about everything that has happened over the past few weeks. The unexpected delays. The strange coincidences. The moments when you almost confronted them, but something inside you whispered, not yet. Have you ever wondered why? There are moments when silence protects a truth that is still growing. A seed buried beneath the soil always looks invisible. Until suddenly, it breaks through the surface. The same can happen with people. The same can happen with relationships. And the same can happen with answers. You have been asking heaven for clarity. But clarity rarely arrives all at once. It comes one piece at a time. One realization after another. One unexpected moment that changes everything. That moment may be much closer than you realize. The conversation taking place behind closed doors is connected to something that has been building for longer than you know. Every word exchanged. Every pause. Every unanswered message. Every unexpected silence. They are all pieces of a picture that is still incomplete. If you judge the picture too early, you may misunderstand the masterpiece that is still being painted. That is why your heart has felt restless. Not because it already knows the ending, but because it senses that a chapter is about to close. Listen carefully. There is someone involved. Someone whose presence has quietly influenced decisions you never even knew were being made. Yet this person's role is not what most people would immediately assume. This is where nearly everyone reaches the wrong conclusion. And if you rush ahead now, you may become one of them. Because what is hidden is not simply about another person. It is about a truth that has been waiting for exactly the right moment to reveal itself. And when that moment arrives, you will finally understand why everything felt so different, and why nothing was exactly as it seemed. But before that truth can be uncovered, there is one conversation, one decision, and one unexpected revelation that must happen first. And what unfolds next may completely change the way you see this entire situation. Have you ever noticed how the quietest moments often carry the loudest answers? Not because someone finally speaks, but because your spirit begins to understand what your eyes could never see. The truth you have been searching for has never been racing away from you. It has been moving toward you, one step at a time. That is why every attempt to force an answer has left you feeling even more confused. Some doors cannot be opened by pressure. They only open when the appointed moment arrives. And that moment is drawing closer. The person you love has been carrying thoughts they have not known how to explain. Not every silence comes from dishonesty. Sometimes silence is born from fear. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of disappointing someone they deeply care about. Fear that one conversation could change everything forever. Think about the last time they looked at you differently. Perhaps it lasted only a second. Perhaps they smiled, then quickly looked away. Perhaps they wanted to say something, but chose another subject instead. Those moments were not meaningless. They were clues. Tiny pieces of a much larger picture that has been quietly unfolding behind the scenes. Yet there is another presence connected to this story. Someone whose words have carried unexpected influence. Someone who has listened, advised, and questioned decisions that were never shared with you. At first glance, it may seem as though this person is standing between you. But appearances can be remarkably misleading. Not every voice is an enemy. Sometimes heaven allows another person's perspective to expose hidden fears that would have remained buried forever. This is why you must guard your heart from quick conclusions. A mind filled with assumptions rarely leaves room for truth. And truth is exactly what is approaching. There will soon come a moment when something ordinary becomes extraordinary. A message. A phone call. An unexpected meeting. Or perhaps a sentence spoken almost by accident. It will seem small. Yet it will unlock questions that have been following you for far too long. When that happens, do not interrupt. Do not react too quickly. Listen beyond the words. Because people often reveal their deepest feelings in the spaces between their sentences. There is something your heart has overlooked. Not because you were careless, but because emotion has a way of focusing on what hurts while quietly ignoring what heals. The person you love has been fighting a battle that has remained invisible to almost everyone. A battle between what feels safe and what feels true. Between the expectations of others and the voice inside that refuses to stay silent forever. That struggle has shaped every recent decision. Every hesitation. Every delayed response. Every confusing action. And now, the balance is beginning to shift. You may believe this story is about discovering who they have been talking to. But the greater revelation is not simply the identity of the person. It is the reason those conversations began in the first place. Once that reason becomes clear, many of the fears that have been weighing on your heart will begin to lose their power. Still, one final piece remains hidden. A single choice is about to be made. It is a choice that cannot be undone once spoken aloud. The person you love has been standing at the edge of that decision for longer than you realize. They know that whatever comes next will reshape the future in ways neither of you can fully imagine today. And just as they prepare to take that step, something completely unexpected is about to happen. Something that neither you nor they saw coming. There are moments when life changes without warning. Not through a dramatic event, but through a single realization that quietly rearranges everything you believe to be true. That moment is closer than you think. While you have been searching for answers outside yourself, heaven has been preparing something within you. A new way of seeing. A deeper kind of understanding. Because before you can recognize the truth in another person's heart, you must first quiet the storm within your own. Ask yourself something. What if the greatest obstacle between you and clarity has never been distance, but fear? Fear has a remarkable way of filling empty spaces with stories that feel convincing, even when they are incomplete. It whispers conclusions before the evidence arrives. It turns silence into rejection, delay into abandonment, and uncertainty into certainty. But today, those illusions begin to lose their hold. The person you love has reached a point where pretending has become heavier than honesty. The weight they have carried is becoming impossible to ignore. Every day they have wondered, how much longer can I keep this inside? How much longer before the truth finds its own way to the surface? Because truth has a voice of its own. It does not remain hidden forever. It waits patiently until the right moment makes silence impossible. There is something remarkable unfolding behind the scenes. Conversations that once circled around uncertainty are beginning to sound different. Questions are becoming answers. Doubt is slowly giving way to courage. The person you love is beginning to see what they could not see before. Not because someone forced them, but because their own heart has become impossible to ignore. And the person they have been speaking with may have done something unexpected. Instead of encouraging distance, they may have challenged it. Instead of creating confusion, they may have asked the very question your loved one had been avoiding. What do you truly want? Sometimes the most important voice in our lives is not the one that tells us what to do, but the one that refuses to let us keep hiding from ourselves. That question has echoed through every private conversation, every quiet moment, every sleepless night. And now, an answer is beginning to form. Still, one final barrier remains. It is not another person. It is not time. It is not circumstance. It is courage. Because knowing the truth and speaking the truth are two very different things. Soon, a moment will arrive when your paths cross in a way that feels almost ordinary. Nothing around you will seem extraordinary at first. The room may feel familiar. The words may begin casually. The day itself may appear completely normal. Yet beneath that ordinary moment, everything will be changing. A sentence will be spoken. A look will be exchanged. And suddenly, pieces that never seemed connected will begin fitting together with astonishing clarity. When that happens, resist the urge to interrupt the moment with fear. Sometimes the answers we have prayed for arrive so gently that we almost overlook them. But this answer will not stay hidden. It has waited too long. The silence has lasted long enough. And as the final walls begin to fall, one truth, kept hidden until now, is preparing to step into the light. The only question left is, will you be ready to hear what has been in their heart all along? Because what they are about to reveal may not only explain the secret conversations, it may completely redefine what your future together could become. Sometimes the greatest turning points never announce themselves. They arrive quietly, like the first light before sunrise. Easy to overlook if your eyes are fixed only on the darkness. That is why this moment matters. Not because everything has already changed, but because everything is beginning to. The person you love has reached a crossroads where avoiding the truth is no longer possible. Every conversation they have kept private, every emotion they have struggled to name, every question they have carried in silence, has led them here. There is something extraordinary about a heart that grows tired of pretending. Eventually, it stops searching for excuses and starts searching for peace. That is exactly where they are now. You may have believed those secret conversations were pulling them farther away from you. But what if they were actually bringing them closer to a decision they could no longer postpone? Think carefully. Have you noticed how people often become quieter just before they make the biggest choice of their lives? It is because the loudest battles are rarely fought out loud. They happen within. Between fear and hope. Between comfort and change. Between the life someone has known and the life they are finally ready to embrace. That inner battle has not been easy. There were moments when they almost convinced themselves to remain silent forever. Moments when speaking honestly felt too risky. Moments when they wondered whether protecting everyone's feelings was easier than revealing their own. But the heart was never designed to hide forever. Sooner or later, it longs to breathe. It longs to be understood. It longs to be seen for what it truly carries. This is why you have felt such an unusual pull lately. Not because your future is slipping away, but because it is moving toward a moment of clarity. Even now, pieces are shifting into place without you realizing it. Someone who once offered advice has begun stepping back. Someone who once influenced every decision is no longer holding the same power. Why? Because there comes a time when no outside voice can answer the question that only the heart can answer. And that time has arrived. The next step belongs to the person you love alone. No one else can make it for them. No one else can speak the words they have been holding back. That is why the coming days carry such significance. There will be an opportunity. Not one created by coincidence, but one that feels almost perfectly timed. A conversation neither of you planned. A pause that invites honesty instead of avoidance. A moment when the silence finally becomes too heavy to carry. When that happens, pay attention not only to what is said, but to what is finally released. Sometimes the most powerful confession is not dramatic. It is simple, quiet, honest, and impossible to forget. The truth has a way of lifting burdens from everyone involved. Even when it arrives with uncertainty, it also brings freedom. But there is still one final piece that has not yet come into view. A detail so unexpected that once you understand it, you will realize why every delay, every unanswered question, and every hidden conversation happened exactly when it did. That final piece is already moving toward you. And when it arrives, the mystery that has followed your heart for so long will no longer be a mystery at all. Instead, it will become the beginning of an entirely new chapter, one neither of you ever expected to write. There is a reason storms never last forever. Not because the wind suddenly grows tired, but because every storm is preparing the sky to reveal its light again. The uncertainty you have been carrying has felt heavy. At times, it has convinced you that silence meant distance. That unanswered questions meant fading love. That hidden conversations could only lead to disappointment. But the story has always been deeper than your fears could imagine. The final pieces are now moving into place. What once seemed disconnected is beginning to form a single picture. The person you love has spent countless moments replaying conversations in their mind. They have questioned their choices. They have wondered whether they waited too long. Whether too much silence has already created too much distance. Yet every time they tried to walk away from what they truly felt, their heart quietly brought them back. Because some connections refuse to disappear. Not through time. Not through confusion. And not through temporary silence. There is something they have finally begun to understand. The person they spoke with in secret could offer advice. Could listen. Could ask difficult questions. But they could never make the decision that truly mattered. That decision has always belonged to one heart alone. And now, that heart is no longer running from the truth. For the first time in a long while, they are beginning to accept what they have been resisting. Not because someone convinced them, but because honesty has become stronger than fear. This is the turning point. The moment when uncertainty begins to lose its power. You may still wonder, what happens next? The answer is simpler than you expect. Truth creates movement. Once spoken, it changes everything around it. Walls begin to fall. Misunderstandings begin to fade. What once seemed impossible suddenly feels within reach. That does not mean every question disappears overnight. Every meaningful relationship grows stronger through honest conversations. Not perfect ones. Remember this. Real love is not proven by the absence of confusion. It is revealed by the willingness to choose honesty when confusion finally comes to an end. That willingness is growing inside the person you love right now. Soon, you will notice something different. Not a grand announcement. Not an impossible miracle. But a quiet shift. Their eyes will hold less uncertainty. Their words will carry more intention. Their actions will begin matching what their heart has struggled to say. And in that moment, you may realize that what frightened you most was never the secret conversation itself. It was the fear of not knowing the truth. Now, the truth is no longer hiding. It is approaching with steady steps. Still, one final revelation remains. It is not about what was said behind closed doors. It is about what will be said face to face. Those words have been waiting for the perfect moment. Words capable of healing questions that have lingered for far too long. Words that may close one chapter and gently open another. When they are finally spoken, you will understand why every delay, every unexpected silence, every mysterious conversation led to this single moment. And what happens after those words are spoken may become the beginning of the story you once thought could never happen. Every journey toward the truth arrives at a single moment. A moment when silence can no longer protect what the heart is desperate to say. That moment has finally arrived. The person you love has carried this weight for longer than anyone realizes. Not because they wished to keep you in the dark, but because they feared that once the truth was spoken, nothing would ever be the same again. In one way, they were right. Because truth changes people. It changes relationships. It changes the future. But not always in the way fear predicts. Sometimes, truth does not break what is real. It reveals what has been real all along. The conversations that remained hidden. The words exchanged behind closed doors. The advice that was sought in quiet moments. None of it can define the future by itself. What defines the future is the choice that follows. And now, that choice stands directly before them. There will come a moment when explanations replace assumptions. When honesty replaces uncertainty. When questions that echoed through your heart finally begin to find their answers. Do not expect perfection. Expect sincerity. Because sincere words carry a strength that perfect words never could. You may discover that what seemed like distance was actually hesitation. What felt like avoidance was uncertainty. And what appeared to be a secret was someone searching for the courage to face their own heart. This is why patience has mattered. This is why every unanswered question has led you here. Not to leave you empty, but to prepare you for understanding. As this chapter reaches its end, remember something that many people forget. The strongest relationships are not built by people who never face confusion. They are built by people who choose honesty after confusion has tested them. Perhaps this message found you because your heart needed hope more than certainty. Perhaps it found you because you were ready to stop letting fear write the ending before the story was complete. Or perhaps it found you because today marks the beginning of seeing your situation through different eyes. Whatever happens next, do not allow assumptions to speak louder than truth. Do not allow fear to become the author of a story that is still being written. Instead, watch. Listen. Remain open to what is revealed. Because clarity often arrives quietly. And when it does, it brings a peace that no amount of guessing could ever provide. If this message has spoken to your heart, take it as an invitation to move forward with wisdom, patience, and hope. Not because every outcome is guaranteed, but because every new day brings another opportunity for honesty, understanding, and healing. Sometimes, the answer you have been waiting for is not hidden in another person's secret conversation. Sometimes, It is waiting in the courage both of you find when the time finally comes to speak openly. And when that conversation finally happens, you may look back on every question, every sleepless night, every moment of uncertainty, and realize they were not the end of your story. They were simply the pages leading you to a new beginning. So walk forward with faith instead of fear, with hope instead of assumptions, and with the quiet confidence that whatever truth is meant for you will always find its way into the light. Until then, protect your peace, guard your heart, and never forget: the brightest dawn always begins with the darkest hour just before the first light appears.